Hello, and we're back with part three of the book The Yogi and the Snake, written by Shail Gulhati. And he is here with us, joining me, Kausar Sultana. I'm an energy intuitive, and I love reading books and I love sharing excerpts with my viewers. And I am so honored to have the author with me today. So thanks again, Shail, for joining. We're going to jump straight into the third part, continuing with the chapter end points. If you haven't watched part one, part two, please do that before watching this one. Okay, so while we were talking about, you were giving us an example in the previous part about what the Upanishads also say, that the one who is living the mundane life is doomed, and the one who is living in the spiritual life is even more doomed. And I said, let's just continue from there, that point. End
Yeah.
points. So you write here, God is often worshipped.
Just 1 minute.
Sure.
This chapter is called End Points because I was a science student once upon a time.
Mhm.
And in the chem lab, we were told that there is a thing called the end point. When you're trying to do an experiment,
Mhm.
and then there is an end point, and either the color will change to this, like you have a litmus tests.
Right.
So end point basically meant that your experiment is done and what is the conclusion. So it's a very conclusive type of thing. It's not just an end point of, let's say, a particular car journey. I thought of it from the side of the chemistry lab. Okay. End point. So has your process come to an end point? That way. So now when we connect this to my learning about God and what people before me had to say about this spiritual trek.
Right.
So he had noticed, where do other people call it their end point? In their labs, the people who have been here before, the mystics, or the sadhus, or the rishis, or the peers, or good people who have tried very genuinely, what are their end points? वो कहाँ पे बोलते हैं experiment is done? So that's the background.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you. Thank you for joining the dots for us. Thank you. So he writes, God is often worshipped in stone, he thought. Indeed, some highly attained souls become stone-like, tranquil in their discovery of the self. The suffering of others and their own suffering seems not to affect them anymore. They become accustomed to suffering as a result of past deeds called karma, right? So I'm asking you here is, you talk about suffering and karma. In my understanding, a suffering in this life is a payback of deeds in a past life, finishing a karmic cycle. Is that correct? In your experience?
Yes, your understanding is correct about what karma is supposed to be. But is it fair? But is it fair? If I repeat the question to you, this karma theory or the way karma works, is it correct?
No, it's not.
I don't
right.
like it. Right.
Exactly.
So you have this man who tries to look for God and divinity, whether he's a Buddha, and then he finds what he has to find. And then when a younger person goes to him with his own problems and he tells him that this is karma and nothing can be done about it, and he's accustomed to his suffering, it doesn't bother him anymore. The sadhu just tells him, that this is karma. Sometimes the sadhu will tell him to make him more resilient. But sometimes, many times, I had noticed that suffering didn't bother them to the point of being stone-like. और हमने सुना था कि पत्थर में भी भगवान होता है, तो उसने कहा कि ये भगवान को ढूंढते ढूंढते खुद पत्थर बन गए. अब कोई किसी इनके पास जाता है तो वो उसको कहते हैं कि सफरिंग जो है ये तो लिखी है, ये तो कर्मा है, and they are not worried about it anymore. So what kind of a realization have they had? So this is the same thing. Okay, you found your Atma, but it can't help you in this world. So you're doomed, according to me, like the Upanishad. You're doomed more. There has to be a higher finding of that same thing. Right?
Yeah. So what I'm getting from this, Shail, what you're saying is that even if I were to take this as, whatever difficulty I'm going through, or, the challenges or the suffering, the sorrow and the suffering, if I'm going through now, it is because of some deed from my past life. That it's like a repayment. Okay, that's fine. Okay, partly, let's say that's fine. But what do I do with this awareness? That if I am paying, then what about, I have questions like, so how long am I supposed to be paying this? And if I am paying this, I'm still suffering. So I suffered in some other lifetime in some way. As a repayment, I'm still suffering. So for this suffering, am I already creating a karma for another
Yeah.
life? So is that a cycle? That's how it's going to continue. Versus how we
I,
spoke about in the previous chapter, that okay, what strength can I gather from here that I can now take some actions, take some steps that will stop this suffering, and from that I learn my lesson, that whatever it was, this is what was not working for me, this is what is right, not a really right, but an awareness. I've learned something, and then you grow. It's like when you're in school, you learn something and then you go into the next class or something like that, right? So it's the growth, and that's where the growth of the human being, the mind, the body, the emotional space, and of course the soul growth is happening, and then you're not continuing another karmic cycle. So this is my understanding.
absolutely, this was the understanding. And coupled with the fact that he said, all right, now that I know the soul, I'm repeating this.
Yeah.
So why can't soul help me with karma?
Exactly.
And later God will also come into the picture, right?
Yes.
Shiva will also come in.
Yeah.
So essentially, these chapters are moving from the difference of self-realization to God realization. They are two different things.
Yeah.
They are on the same, they're two different stations on the same train journey.
Yes.
Self-realization comes first. It is called Atma Vyapti. And what this man hadn't read or didn't really understand at that time was that he was looking for God realization, which is called Shiva Vyapti with the Shaivites. So I know my Atma, but I still need to know Paramatma.
Right.
So he was on the right track. He was not, nature could not, sort of bribe him off. And a lot of people have made that end point. He didn't make it his end point. He said, I know my Atma, so what? This is not my end point. It has to go on. This train is going somewhere else. And I will sit till the last station. That's what it was.
What was that one point, Shail, if you could repeat? Thoda cut ho gaya tha. Nature did not what? I would love for you to hear.
See, nature tried to bribe him off with a reward that, all right, you've seen sorrow, you tried to meditate. So we will, sort of give you Atma Vyapti. You will get to know the transcendent.
Right.
And that will be a very big, sort of reward, a lollipop.
Right.
But he didn't accept it. He didn't accept that as the end point.
Right.
He was grateful. He had a gratitude towards consciousness and nature that I'm lucky that you have shown me my Atma, but I'm not stopping here.
Right.
I want more.
Right.
He was spiritually greedy.
Right. So
spiritually, he wanted more.
So I'm actually having a very
now
lovely...
is that an oxymoron for you? Spiritually greedy, or you understand?
No. I do. As a matter of fact, I'm having a very lovely epiphany moment here. That people who are used to meditations and things like that, right? I mean, if there is, let me not even go for people. I'll talk about my personal this thing. So when I'm having a very difficult time, Shail, right, and I'm not able to figure out what needs to be done, what I do is I just go into silence for a while, right? I'll do some sort of meditation, or I'll just go silent. So in those few moments, what happens is I'm able to bring myself back into balance, and those worryful thoughts are gone. Okay, once that worry energy is gone, then I'm able to come out with some sort of a solution and then move on into that situation, right?
Correct.
Now here, what I'm learning from this discussion is when I sit in meditation, it's not just now this one level that let me calm myself so that I can find better ways to solve this. I'm also now seeking as to, yaar, bas ho gaya ye sorrow. What is it that I want this cycle of sorrow to stop, for me to keep going into. So it doesn't mean that your life will not have sorrows anymore, but you start learning as to what is it that you may have been doing up till now,
Yeah.
that this is repeating, and maybe that you can stop, and that's the strength that you will build, that आगे अगर कुछ sorrow आया भी, then you are more capable of dealing with it in a different way. That's a realization I'm having right now.
Absolutely. You see, there could be a meditation which is a sort of passive meditation, which calms you down, which is required. Om Shanti, right? But then there must be a dynamic meditation, which makes you a co-player with creation, an aware, an awakened player, right? So it cannot be just, it cannot be a meditation which teaches you how to calm yourself down every time and keep on accepting what's heaped upon you. That's only a preliminary. Then you must be able that.
You'll have to repeat that last part.
Right? Have the same songs for everybody all the time.
Shail, you'll have to repeat that last part again.
Which one?
So this is just the preliminary. Wahan tak, we could hear you till there.
Yes. A calming meditation. See, if there is a meditation which basically calms you down, it is very, very necessary, Shant kar deti hai aapko.
Yes.
But that is not all. It has to be something beyond that. It has to be a dynamic meditation, right? It's like जब हमारे फौजी भाई है, जब हम एनसीसी में थे तो वो हमको परेड कराते थे, right? सावधान, विश्राम, कदम ताल, all that, right? So these are stages. So we can have a Vishram pose to collect ourselves and calm down, be at ease. But then sometime the commander will say, march. So basically, again and again, he thought that if there is transcendence, if there is God, so why can't it be put to good use?
Right.
Does it have to be this karma carrying on, and why does it have to be this sorrow and everything? He just wanted to know. I'm not saying that he found out at that point or not. He wanted to know. He was not satisfied. He was like a child himself. कि अगर भगवान है तो इतनी problem क्यों आ रही है? That's it.
I love that. Right? I mean, that's taking us to the lovely explanation, or is summing up so well. Okay, if God is there, then why are we suffering so much? Right? And then you continue to write. I'll just continue reading that excerpt. Just a moment. Right. So he got accustomed. So he said that they became accustomed to suffering as a result of past deeds karma, about which nothing can be done. Nothing can be done about karma by man, he understood. But what about God? Exactly what you said. Could he not ease things? Right? So that's exactly what you were talking about. And then we have this next excerpt where he continues. Many of them held that suffering can be ignored since life itself is an illusion. Now, many of them here, Shail is referring to the saints.
Mayavadis, जो बोलते हैं कि जगत जगत मिथ्या है. Their answer to you for suffering is that actually there is no suffering. ये मिथ्या है. सिर्फ ईश्वर जो है वो ही सत्य है. And this is a big teaching, and I respect this teaching. But it did not satisfy the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can meet these big saints and they can tell you this in all compassion.
Right.
But it doesn't sort you out. कि जगत मिथ्या है, आप है, वो मिथ्या तो नहीं लगती है. Your head is bursting, you need a discipline.
Yeah. So, but to him, the sufferings were more. Sorry.
I mean, we have to. Times we all going through the coronavirus going on. We can't do that, right? It's a reality, and we want solutions to that.
Could you repeat that last part, Shail? We missed the complete last part.
I said that there are some saints who say Jagat Mithya hai. They're called Mayavadis. That this is all a Maya. It's not real, right? but that doesn't do it for you, even though they mean it very well and with a lot of compassion. Because if you are having even a headache and the guy tells you you have no problem because actually there is no headache, because actually there is no you, because actually there is no world, does your headache go away? No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? So, and we are living in times with this COVID thing going on. People are dying. Our lives have changed. Our businesses have closed. We don't know what's going to happen next. Will we be satisfied with an answer that, it doesn't matter because the whole world is an illusion?
Yeah.
Jagat mithya hai. Or would you rather say that Jagat agar mithya hai aur Bhagwan sach hai, to please Bhagwan kuch kar do? Isn't it more natural for you to say, Dad, parent, please sort us out, help us?
Right.
Right.
So that's the connection that you were making earlier, that God, you're looking at the snake was looking for God as a parent, not just a creator, but like someone who would really hold my hand.
Yeah. Like my dad. Like when you're a child and you say, Dad is not around in the house, I have a problem. I have this jigsaw I can't finish, or I have this, homework which I can't do. I need a little help with it. But my dad is not around, or my mom is not around, or dad is not around, I would say, because in this, example, the dad has gone to office. This is what is happening with us. Dad is not around. But you're waiting for him कि dad आएंगे तो मैं अपनी copy लेके सामने आ जाऊंगा कि dad, I need some help.
Yeah.
And then you expect that dad will help and your homework will be done.
Yeah.
Right? So you've gone on a spiritual journey to find your soul or your Atma or the higher self, and you have a glimpse of the higher self, and it doesn't help you to change anything.
Right.
And the only wisdom that you get is that Jagat Mithya hai and this is all, suffering is necessary and karma theory and all that. It didn't do well for me. I said, no. We're missing a point. There has to be something more. You're on the right track. Like I said, this train is passing from station to station. My spiritual growth is going from one station to another. But I reached the station which was very well looked up to by others. But it was not good enough for me.
That was not your end point.
No. I said, no. ठीक है, I'm very lucky. I was not ungrateful.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky, but कुछ और है. I mean, आत्मा को जानना बहुत बड़ी बात है.
Yeah.
But उसके बाद क्या करे?
Right.
I can tell you with surety. You see, one who has had his Atma darshan can tell you with surety. You can see with surety that he's so sure because he's seen it for himself. So he doesn't need any affirmation. But he can affirm to you कि ये होता है. It is there. We are not just body and mind. But what to do with it? अच्छा भाई आत्मा है, वो आत्मा कभी मरेगी नहीं, पानी उसको नहीं चढ़ सकता, आग उसको नहीं लग सकती, तो मैं क्या करूं? मैं तो सफर कर रहा हूं, ये वाला मैं तो अभी भी सफर कर रहा हूं ना.
Yeah, I love that. ये वाला में, the physical form which has the mind and the heart, exactly, right? तो वो तो आत्मन तो बैठे हैं अंदर बैठे हैं या ऊपर, जो भी आपका जो भी एक्सपीरियंस रहा है, it's a very calm, very serene, very blissful space to be in. It's good to visit and come back. So I like a few things. It's actually bringing up something very interesting for me. The example that you gave, that as a little child you're sitting there with a copy, with a book, waiting for your parent, your father to come home, and then you can, he'll help you resolve this. Versus, so that. So that knowing that there is this parent who is going to come and solve something for me, okay?
At that point, it was, is there such a parent? Do I have a dad who's in office has not come home to help me?
Right?
अभी तक योगी आया नहीं था ना?
हाँ, तो so मैं खाली अब ये बुक से निकल के ना अपने रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में आ रही हूँ, right? That if I am in this situation, right? There are some of us who, if I take the analogy of the book and make it like a prayer, that I just put my prayer at the doorstep and say, okay, whenever my parent will come, if he comes, he will give me some sort of an answer I have done my bit of writing it in the book and leaving it there. Or let's say teacher correct करेगी नहीं करेगी, जो भी marks देगी नहीं देगी, मुझे नहीं पता. मेरा काम था, मैंने करके दे दिया. So my job is to say a prayer for whatever is happening, and that's about it. I'm done with this. And what God does, ऊपर वाले की मर्जी, उसकी इच्छा, God will, all of those things that we say, right? But here, what you're inviting us through this book to do is, don't just leave it there. Don't just leave it there. Demand like a child, saying, no, I want an answer, right? That's the kind of connection you want to build. When I say demand, I don't mean
Yes.
like a throw
Yes.
tantrums
Yes.
and get frustrated
No,
inside.
not at all.
But
We have too many of those who throw tantrums in the name of
yes,
religion and God.
yes,
We don't want that. Yes, but
right.
demand, I understand. Using a right word. Demand as someone who is willing to accept that God is the Father.
Yeah.
वो अपने इख्तियार मांग रहा है कि no,
Ikhtiyar,
you're my
exactly. Like I have that right, I have that connect, I have that bond, and therefore I know I can ask to get an
yes, yes,
right.
absolutely. And there are a lot of people who have endorsed this. Swami Vivekananda used to endorse this.
Yes.
He used to say, you are the children of the highest. Wake up. कुछ मांगो, बड़ी चीज मांगो. हिमालय नो आप क्या कर रहे हो?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
हक
I've
और
had
इख्तियार में फर्क होता है. हक और इख्तियार में फर्क होता है.
yes, yes, yes.
One is deserved, earned, and one is as a matter of right. You know, we all say, oh, if you are the son of God, I am the daughter of God too. तो मैं भी मांग लेती हूँ. वो तो मालूम है सबको. We are all from the same consciousness, Baba. But make an effort. उस हक को मत करो, उसको इख्तियार बनाओ. Make it well deserved. Have you gone on your journey? Have you dwelled into things? Have you introspected? Have you helped others? Have you tried to reboot into a better person? All that. Yeah.
And I for one can definitely vouch for getting answers from him. I get my answers. I sat in meditation and I did not give up, day after month into years. And I said, I want to know from you directly. And then he arrived. So I can vouch for that. So that's why and आप जो हक की बात कर रहे हैं and the word. So now when I refer to Shivji, I always say my Shivji. वो एक अलग ही
Of
feeling
course.
आती है. It's like my Shivji. So
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Yes, lovely. So we shall move on. Let me just quickly check the time. Okay, good. So I think here we shall take a break and we shall end this part.
Okay.
Share. All right. Let's keep our viewers
Okay.
really, wanting more, hungry for more. We'd love to hear your comments. Write to us, write to me, write to Shail. We're all going to be here, with these posts, and we look forward to hearing from you. See you all next time. Thank you, Shail. See you.
Namaskar.
Namaste.